Welcome, listeners. Thank you for tuning in to my second podcast in this series, where we present to you the lectures of Srila Prabhupada with spoken transcriptions. I am much appreciative of your time and attention. Before we continue, I want to profusely thank my Guru Maharaj, Srila Veerabahu Maharaj, who has given me the direction and understanding to hear Srila Prabhupada's lectures, a daily source of inspiration, and to all the devotees who encouraged me to take up this project. Please, dear listeners, forgive any mistake in this endeavor. I'm only an ant trying to help build Srila Prabhupada's mission, and so if I can inspire only one person from this endeavor, I will call it a success. The second lecture in this series is from the Caitanya Caritamrita, given by Srila Prabhupada on November 27, 1966, at 26 2nd Avenue in the Lower East Side of New York City. This is the first lecture Srila Prabhupada has given on the Caitanya Caritamrita in the U.S. As we have discussed in our first podcast, on February 2, 1966, Srila Prabhupada purchases a tape recorder for recording his classes, kirtans, and bhajans. Srila Prabhupada's persistence in preserving his spoken word has resulted in a permanent legacy of over 2,000 hours of invaluable tape recordings. Srila Prabhupada regularly holds evening Bhagavad Gita lectures in his room behind Dr. Mishra's yoga studio at 72nd Street. One of the regular attendees is Harvey Cohen, who introduces Srila Prabhupada to Paul Murray, another young man seeking spiritual knowledge. One day in April, somebody broke into Srila Prabhupada's room and stole his typewriter and tape recorder. As Prabhupada returned to the building, the janitor informed him of the theft. An unknown burglar had broken the transom glass above the door, climbed through, taken the valuables, and escaped. As Prabhupada heard the details of the crime, he became convinced that it was the janitor himself who had broken in and stolen his things, and that man was now offering a fictitious account of a thief who had gone through the transom. Knowing there was no way he could prove this, Srila Prabhupada simply accepted his loss with disappointment. In a letter to India, he described the theft as a loss of more than 1,000 rupees, $125. In a recorded 1976 conversation, Srila Prabhupada narrates the story. Srila Prabhupada. One boy, he was coming to me in that about 171st Street. All my things were stolen.
One boy was coming to me in that 171st Street. All my things are stolen.
My tape recorder, typewriter. Fortunately, they did not touch my manuscript that I was writing, typing my books.
My tape recorder, typewriter. Fortunately, they did not touch my manuscript when I was writing, typing my book.
So some money was stolen. Then one boy, he was coming to me. He told me, "Please come to my place, a loft, Bowery Street."
So, the money was stolen. Then, one boy was coming to me. He told me, "Please come to my place, loft, Bowery Street."
I did not know the Bowery Street was not a good quarter. All bums and drunks.
I did not know the Bowery Street was not a good quarter. All bums and drunks.
When I see them, one Jewish friend, he had an electrical shop. He told me, Swamiji, you have gone to Bowery Street? Oh, it is not your place.
I see that one Jewish friend, he had electrical shop. He told me, Swamiji, you have gone to Bowery Street. No, it is not your place.
I did not know that it is full of drunkards, but they were lying down in front of my door, but they were respectful.
I did not know that it is full of drunkards. But they are lying down in front of my door, but they are very respectful.
When I go, these drunkards come, and they respectfully give me ways. And they would lie down on urine and something like that, on water.
When I go, the drunkard comes to me. They respectfully give me ways. And they would lie down on urine or something like that, on water.
Then the boy who took me there, he was Murray. His last title was Murray, and he was taking LSD. So since I went there, he did not go to work. Otherwise, he was working and getting daily $25.
Then the boy who took me there, he was Murray. His last time he was Murray. And he was taking a rest. So, since I went there, he did not go to work. Otherwise, he was working and getting daily $25.
In some dock he was working. Since I went, he stopped working. I had to pay $125 for the loft. One lady was the landlord.
In some dock he was working. And since I went, he stopped working. And I had to pay $125 for the loft. One lady was the landlord.
So it was going on. Some people were coming. Then Mukunda began to come, his wife and another black boy, half black, Jürgen, Karalapati. I gave him name Karalapati. He was coming.
So I was going on. Some people were coming. Then Mukunda began to come. His wife and another black boy, half black, Jürgen, Korala. I gave him the name Korala. He was coming.
Srila Prabhupada is now living in Harvey Cohen's loft with Paul Murray, as Harvey is on an extended trip to California. The loft is large and has plenty of space for Srila Prabhupada to have his own area to live, write, and give classes to visitors, and not encroach on Paul's space. But as Prabhupada's classes are becoming more popular, his preaching work is now spreading across the whole loft. Srila Prabhupada has high hopes for Paul Murray, and in a letter dated April 27, 1966, to Sumati Murarji, the owner of the steamship company that gave him free passage to America on the Jaladuta, Prabhupada writes, I'm trying to avoid the journey to India and again to come back, especially for the reason that I'm holding at the above address classes thrice a week and training some American youth in the matter of Sankirtan and devotional service of the Lord. Some of them are taking the lessons very sincerely, and in future they may be very good Vaishnavas according to the rigid rituals. One of the youths, Mr. Paul Murray, is even ready to go with me to India to learn the cult more specifically, and I wish to take him with me when I go to India. Please, therefore, write your agent here to allow this more serious boy to come with me to India and see things directly how temple worship is done in the Vishnu temples. I shall keep him for some days in Vrindavan, and he may be given lessons for future preaching in the Western countries. But then one day, Paul freaks out on LSD. Srila Prabhupada. Then one day, that boy Murray, he showed some crazy features. So I thought, it is dangerous to live with him. So I approached Mukunda.
Then one day, that boy Murray, he showed some crazy features. So I thought it is dangerous to live with him. I approached Mukunda.
Mukunda had no place. Still I asked him. So he kept my goods at Mukunda's house, and I went to live with the Jurgens.
Mukunda had no place. Instead, I asked him. So I kept my goods at Mukunda's house and went to live with jargon.
That is another loft. So in this way, with great hardship, sometimes here, sometimes there, in this way, I got $200 by selling book, and then I asked Mukunda to find out an apartment.
That is another loft. In this way, with great hardship, sometime here, sometime there. In this way, I got $200 by selling books, and then I asked Mukunda to find out an apartment.
He found this apartment, 26 2nd Avenue, one storefront down and one living quarters up, so I found it very convenient.
He found this apartment, 26 2nd Avenue. One storefront down and one living quarters up. I found it very convenient down.
Down I would lecture and hold kirtan. So he charged $75 per month for the apartment, small apartment.
I would lecture and hold kirtan. He charged $75 per month for the apartment, small apartment.
I think in a space like this room or less than that, everything is there. There was kitchen, there was shower, and 2 rooms. I think less than this.
I think in a space like this room, or less than that, everything. There was kitchen, there was shower, and 2 rooms. I think less than this.
About 2/3 of this room, and everything there. So I shifted there, and there I remained up to May 1967, I think.
Around 2/3 of this room and everything there. So I shifted there, and there I remained May 1967.
On July the 1st, 1966, Srila Prabhupada writes in his journal, "Today I entered the new house at 26 2nd Avenue, rear portion, room B1. For my purpose, it is all good. I do not know why Krishna is trying to establish me in New York. I am his servant's servant, and therefore let his desire be fulfilled through my agency." On July the 6th, 1966, Srila Prabhupada entered in his journal, "In the meeting at 22nd Street Store, it is settled that the society shall be incorporated, and the name of the society shall be International Society for Krishna Consciousness. 11 trustees were agreed." It was now 4 months since he had begun ISKCON at 26 2nd Avenue. He had held 3 separate initiations and initiated 19 devotees. Most of them have become serious, although a few remain casual visitors. Now, in the morning classes, Swamiji wanted to instruct them more about how to become devotees. Srila Satsvarup Maharaj writes about this pastime in the Prabhupada Lilamrita. I will read from that section. Those disciples who lived at the storefront had risen by 6:30, bathed, and assembled downstairs by 7. While those who lived outside were arriving separately, taking off their coats and piling them on the shelf of the display window. Although women always attended the evening meetings, Jadharani was usually the only girl who came in the morning. After the morning kirtan, Swami said, as usual, "Now chant 1 round." They chanted together, following him. They all had a vow to chant 16 rounds daily, but they chanted their first round in the morning in the Swami's presence, so he could see each of them. Then he held up the unfamiliar red book. "Because you are a little advanced," he said, "I'm going to read today from the Caitanya Caritamrita." Chaitanya what? No one was able to pick up the pronunciation. They had heard of Chaitanya, certainly, but not of this new book. Swamiji began reading and translating the story of Sanatan and his brother Rupa, and how they became intimate associates of Lord Chaitanya. It was a historical account. Rupa and Sanatan had both been born Brahmanas in India, but they had served in the government under the Muslims who were in power at the time. The 2 brothers had even adopted Muslim names. But when Lord Chaitanya was touring in their part of the country, they had met him and become determined to give up their materialistic ways and follow his path of pure love of God. Rupa, who was so rich that he had enough gold to fill 2 boats, left his high government post, divided his wealth, became a mendicant, and joined Lord Chaitanya. For Sanatan, however, there were more obstacles. The Nawab Shah, the chief Muslim ruler of the province of Bengal, was dependent on Sanatan's managerial expertise. But Sanatan began staying home and submitting sick reports, while actually he had employed a dozen brahmanas who were teaching him the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Nawab sent a physician to find out the actual state of Sanatan's health. And when the Nawab heard that Sanatan was not actually ill, he himself arrived one day, surprising Sanatan and the brahmanas. The Nawab demanded that Sanatana return to his government work and leave him free to do some hunting and leave Bengal on a military campaign. But Sanatana said that he could not, that he was now determined to study the scriptures and that the Nawab could do with him whatever he liked. At this challenge, the Nawab imprisoned Sanatan. Swamiji looked at his watch. Morning classes were shorter than those in the evening, only half an hour, and Rupanuga, Satsarup, and Brahmananda had to go to work. He paused in his narration, "So we will discuss tomorrow." Prabhupada closed the book, and after a few informal words, he got up and left the storefront, followed by Kirtanananda, who carried his book and glasses. The next morning, the Caitanya Caritamrita seminar began with Sanatana in jail, planning how to get free and join Lord Chaitanya. His brother Rupa sent him a note saying that he left a large sum of gold for Sanatan in the care of a grocer, and Sanatan offered the gold to the jailer as a bribe. He told him, "Sir, I know you are a very learned man. And in your Quran, it says that if you aid someone in going to spiritual life, then you will be elevated to the higher post. I'm going to Lord Chaitanya, and if you will assist me in escaping, it will be spiritual gain for you. Also, I will give you 500 gold coins, so it will be material gain as well." The jailkeeper said, "All right, but I am afraid of the king." So Sanatana advised him, "Just say that when I was passing stool by the river, I fell in with my chains and was washed away." For 700 gold coins, the jailer agreed to help Sanatana and sawed off the shackles. Sanatana, accompanied by a servant, then fled by the back roads until by night time he came to a hotel. Now this hotel was kept by thieves, and an astrologer at the hotel read Sanatan's palm and judged by the stars that he had money. When Sanatan asked for assistance in passing over the jungle mountains, the hotel keeper said he would help Sanatan leave in the dead of the night. They treated Sanatan with great respect, which made him suspicious, since he hadn't eaten in 3 days and his clothes were unclean. So he asked a servant if he had any money. The servant said yes, he had 7 gold coins, and Sanatan immediately took the money to the hotel keeper, who was already planning to kill him during the night and take his money. Swamiji looked at his watch. Again they had gone over time. "So we will continue tomorrow," he said, closing the book. How Sanatan manages to escape the dacoits. The next morning, seated on the worn rug, they looked up at him, waiting for him to begin the next installment. Prabhupada cleared his throat and glanced down at Brahmananda, who sat beside the silently running tape recorder. Satsarup entered the date in his notebook. Prabhupada began reading the Bengali verses and paraphrasing. Sanatana took the 7 gold coins from his servant and gave them to the hotel keeper. "You have 8 coins," the astrologer said. And Sanatana went back and found that a servant was retaining another gold coin. "Why do you carry this death knell on the road?" Sanatan asked. "You are too attached to money." And he took the gold piece from the servant and told him to return home. Sanatan then brought the gold coin to the hotel keeper. But the hotel keeper, who admitted that he had intention to kill Sanatan for his money, now said, "You are a good man, and you may keep your money." But Sanatan refused. Then the hotel keeper provided Sanatan with 4 assistants. They helped Sanatan through the jungle and then left him alone. Free from his nuisance servant and from the dacoits, Sanatan felt liberated as he passed along the road alone. At last, Sanatana reached Benares, and he went straight to the home of Chandrasekhar, where Lord Chaitanya was staying, and waited outside the door. Lord Chaitanya knew Sanatan had arrived, and he requested Chandrasekhar to go to the door and ask the devotee who was waiting there to come in. Chandrasekhar went out, but saw only the wretched-looking Sanatan, who he took to be a half-mad Mohammedan fakir. Chandrasekhar returned to Lord Chaitanya and explained that there was no devotee outside. "Was there anyone at all?" the Lord said. "Yes," said Chandrasekhar, "some wretched fakir." Then Lord Chaitanya went to the door and embraced Sanatan. The Lord cried tears of ecstasy, for he had at last found a devotee who he knew was worthy to receive his entire teachings. And Sanatana cried tears of joy that his life's ambition was being fulfilled. But because he was dirty from his traveling and not worthy, he asked the Lord not to touch him. The Lord replied, "It is I who benefit from touching you. Whoever touches a true devotee is blessed." Prabhupada closed the book, ended another morning session. The next morning, Srila Prabhupada reads the Caitanya Caritamrita, Madhya Lila, Chapter 20, texts 66 through 96. This is the earliest known recording of Srila Prabhupada reading from the Caitanya Caritamrita. He reads the Bengali and paraphrases the translations of the verse with some explanation. I will transcribe that recording while adding in the translation of each verse that Srila Prabhupada writes some years later, along with his on-the-fly translations and explanations. So now Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhu kahe tomar dui bhai prayage milila roop anurag duhe Vrindavan.
So the translation to this verse is, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I met your 2 brothers, Rupa and Anupam, at Prayag. They have now gone to Vrindavan. And Prabhupada speaks about this verse. He says, so Lord Chaitanya informs Sanatan Goswami that your 2 other brothers, I met them at Prayag, and they have started for Vrindavan.
Chaitanya informed Sanatan Goswami that your 2 other brothers, I met them at Prayag, and they have started for Vrindavan.
Lord Chaitanya deputed the Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami to excavate the glories of Vrindavan.
Lord Chaitanya deputed the Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami to excavate the glories of Vrindavan.
Before Lord Chaitanya, the Vrindavan city was not there. The present Vrindavan city was not there. It was all forgotten practically.
Before Lord Chaitanya, the Vrindavan city was not there. The present Vrindavan city was not there. It was all forgotten practically.
But when Lord Chaitanya visited this land, he first of all pointed out Radhakund, and then he made a survey. And his assistants, the Goswamis, they went there, and this present Vrindavan was constructed by the disciples of Lord Chaitanya.
But when Lord Chaitanya visited this land, he first of all pointed out Radha Kunda, and then he made a survey, and his assistants, these Goswamis, they went there, and this present Vrindavan was constructed by the disciples of Lord Chaitanya.
I have instructed your two brothers, Rupa Goswami, to go to Vrindavan, and I have met them.
So he said that I have instructed your two brothers, Rupa Goswami, to go to Vrindavan, and I have met them. Tapan Misraya Chandra Shekharare Prabhu Aggay Sanatan Milidadhare.
So this verse is verse 67. We're at Caitanya Caritamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 20, text 67. And the translation is, by the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sanatana Goswami met both Tapan Mishra and Chandra Shekhar. Then Prabhupada speaks, and he says, and he was the guest in the house of Tapan Mishra, so he introduced Tapan Mishra with Sanatana Goswami.
And he was guest in the house of Tapan Mishra, so he introduced Tapan Mishra as Sanatana Goswami. Tapan Mishra tabe tare koila nimantran Prabhu gaye khaura karaha jaha Sanatan.
This is verse 68, and the translation is, Tapan Mishra then extended an invitation to Sanatan, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Sanatan to go get a shave. And then Prabhupada says, the Tapan Mishra invited him that, please accept your bhiksha at my place.
The Tapan Mishra invited him that, please accept your bhiksha at my place.
It is the system. When a sannyasi or renounced order of life is in the village or in the vicinity of so it is the Hindu system that somebody will invite.
It is the system when a sannyasi or renounced order life is in the village or in the vicinity of it. So it is the Hindu system that somebody will invite.
So Tapan Mishra invited him to accept prasad at his place. And Lord Chaitanya said that, first of all, you get him a barber and have him cleansed up of his beard and hairs, which is grown for so many days.
So Tapan Mishra invited him to accept prasadam at his place. And Lord Chaitanya said that first of all, get him to a barber and have him cleanse of his beard and hairs, which has grown for so many days.
Let him become a gentleman. The Lord said that, let him become a gentleman.
Let him become a gentleman. The Lord said that let him become a gentleman. Chandra Shekhare Prabhu kahe bulaiya, ei besh dur karo jahan yahare laiya.
This is verse 69. The translation is, after this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Chandrasekhar and asked him to take Sanatana Goswami with him. He also asked him to take away Sanatan's present dress. Then Prabhupada says, just get him to a barber and clean shaving. According to the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya, they keep themselves clean shaving.
Just get him to a barber and clean shaving. According to the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya, they keep themselves clean shaving.
And only single instance there, Advaita Prabhu, he had his beard. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never asked him to cleanse.
And only single instance is there, Advaita Prabhu, he had his beard. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never asked him to cleanse.
Because one reason is that Advaita Prabhu is just contemporary of his father, so he did not like to dictate. But otherwise, all his disciples, they were clean shaven.
Because one reason is that Advaita Prabhu was just contemporary to his father. So he did not like to dictate. But otherwise, all his disciples, they were clean shaved. Bhadra karaiya tare ganga snan karaila shekhar aniya tare nutana vastra dila.
So this is verse 70, and the translation is, Chandrasekhar then made Sanatan Goswami look like a gentleman. He took him to bathe in the Ganges, and afterwards he brought him a set of new clothes. Then Prabhupada says, then after getting him washed in the Ganges and cleansed by a barber, Chandrasekhar offered him a new pair of clothing, and
then after getting him washed in the Ganges and cleansed by a barber, Chandrasekhar offered him a new pair of clothing, and Shai Vastra Sanatan Lakaila Angika. And
so this is verse 71, and the translation is, Chandrasekhar offered a new set of garments to Sanatana Goswami, but Sanatana did not accept them. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard of this news, he became unlimitedly happy. And Prabhupada said, and Sanatana Goswami did not accept that new clothing. Suniya Prabhur Mane Ananda Apara. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard it, that Sanatana Goswami, after renouncement, he's not going to accept any new clothes.
And Sanatana Goswami did not accept that new clothes. Sunya Prabhu Mane Ananda Apar. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard it, that Sanatana Goswami, after renouncement, is not going to accept any new clothing.
So for a really renounced person, is that whatever clothing is thrown in the street, he'll collect and he'll wear it.
For a really renounced person, is that whatever clothing is thrown in the street, he'll collect and he'll wear it.
He would not purchase any new clothing. That is the order of strictly of one who follows Chirani, Sanatan, Swarupa, Sukadev Goswami. In the Bhagavata, he has said that whether old clothings and torn clothings cannot be had in the street, whether trees are not giving fruits, whether the rivers are dried up, whether the caves and the mountains are they closed, then why the renounced order person go to the Vishayi? Vishayi means those who are materialistic.
He would not purchase any new clothing. That is the order. Strictly one who follows Chirani, Sanatana Sukadev Goswami. In the Bhagavad, he said that whether old clothing and torn clothing cannot be had on the street, whether trees are not giving fruits, whether the rivers are dried up, whether the caves in the mountain, they are closed, then why the renounced order, a person go to the Vishayi? Vishayi means those are materialistic.
Sometimes the renounced order of life, sannyasi, they go to the householders.
Sometimes the renounced order of life, sannyasi, they go to the householders.
Of course, that is their duty, but still, so Sukadev Goswami, a great personality in the renounced order of life, he would live naked.
Of course, that is their duty, but still, so Sukadev Goswami, a great personality in the renounced order of life, he would live naked.
He would not go even to the human society. So those who are following strictly, They do not make themselves dependent on the householders or on the worldly people.
Not go even to the human society. So those who are following strictly, they don't make themselves dependent on the householders or on the worldly people.
So Sanatana Goswami did not accept the new clothing, and when it was heard by Lord Chaitanya, he was very glad.
So Sanatana Goswami did not accept the new clothing, and when it was heard by Lord Chaitanya, he was very glad. Madhyanna kariya Prabhu galo bhikkha karibare, Sanatane laiya galo tapon misra ghare.
This is verse 72, and the translation is, after bathing at noon, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the house of Tapan Mishra for lunch. He took Sanatana Goswami with him. Then Prabhupada says, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there were two gentlemen, Chandrasekhar Acharya and Tapan Mishra.
Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are two gentlemen, Chandrasekhar Acharya and Tapan Mishra.
So Chandrasekhar Acharya took care of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Tapan Mishra took Sanatana Goswami at his place to give him prasadam.
The Chandrasekhar Acharya took care of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Tapan Mishra took Sanatana Goswami at his place to give him prasadam. Mishra Sanatane dila notun basan vastra nahi nila teha karan. Again,
so this is Madhya Lila chapter 20, text 76, the next verse. And the translation is, when Tapan Mishra offered Sanatana Goswami new cloth, he did not accept it. Instead, he spoke as follows. And Prabhupada said, again Mishra offered him new clothing, but he refused.
Mishra offered him that new clothing, but he refused. More vastra dite jodi tomar hoy mon nijo paridhan ek deho purata.
This is verse 77, and the translation is, if you want to give me some cloth according to your desire, please give me an old cloth that you have used. And then Prabhupada says, if you like to give me some clothing, please give me some old clothing which you have used. That will suffice me.
If you like to give me some clothing, please give me some old clothing which you have used. And that will suffice me. Tava Mishra Puratan ek dhuti dila, teho duit bahibas kopin karila.
This is verse 78, and the translation is, when Tapan Mishra gave Sanatana Goswami a used dhoti, Sanatana immediately tore it into pieces to make two sets of outer cloth and underwear. Then Prabhupada says, then he offered him one dhoti. Dhoti in India, they use dhoti about 5 yards, one dhoti.
Then he offered him one dhoti. Dhoti, in India, they use dhoti about 5 yards, one dhoti.
So he offered that dhoti, old clothing, and he divided into Bharisvasa and Kopina, underwear and outer clothing.
So he offered that dhoti, old clothing, and he divided into Bahibas and Kopin, underwear and outwear clothing. Maharashtriya Dije Prabhu Milaila Sanatane Sei Viprotare Kaile Mahanamanta. Then again,
this is verse 79, and Prabhupada translates this verse in the Caitanya Caritamrita as, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced the Maharashtrian Brahmin to Sanatan, the Brahmin immediately invited Sanatan for full meals. And Prabhupada says, then again, one Maharashtrian Brahmin also met him. He also invited him that, next day you please come to my place.
And one Maharashtrian Brahmin also met him. He also invited him, the next day you please come to my place. Sanatan tumi jabat kashite rahiba, tabat amar ghare bhikkha kariba. That.
This is verse 80, and the translation from the Caitanya Caritamrita is, the Brahmin said, my dear Sanatan, as long as you remain at Kashi, please accept lunch at my place. And Prabhupada says, that Maharashtrian Brahmin, he invited him, Sanatana Goswami. So long you shall stay at Benares, kindly accept my invitation. You come to my place and take your prasadam.
That Maharashtrian Brahmin, he invited him, Sanatana Goswami, so long you shall stay at Benares, kindly accept my invitation, you come to my place and take your prasad. Sanatana kahe ami madhukuri koriba brahmaner ghare keno ekatre bhikkha lao. Just see.
This is verse 81, and the translation from the Caitanya Caritamrita is, Sanatana replied, I shall practice the process of madhukari. Why should I accept full meals in the house of a brahmana? And Prabhupada says, just see, he said, no, I cannot accept sumptuous food from a brahmana's place. That is not my duty. I shall accept madhukari.
See, he said, no, I cannot accept sumptuous foodstuff from a Brahmin's place. That is not my duty. I shall accept madhukari.
Madhukari is the principle introduced by the Goswamis. Madhu means honey.
Madhukari is a principle introduced by these Goswamis. Madhu means honey.
And the bees who collect honey from flower, a drop from this flower, a drop from that flower, a drop from that flower, in this way he subsists.
And the bees who collect honey from flower, a drop from this flower, a drop from that flower, a drop from that flower, in this way he subsists.
So this Madhukari system means a renounced order of sannyasi or of vairagi. He should not accept in one place sumptuously.
So this Madhukari system means a renounced order of sannyasi or a vairagi. He should not accept in one place sumptuously.
He should go to every householder and take a bit of chapati from this house, a bit of chapati from that house, a bit of chapati from that house, so that the householders also may not be disturbed and may be benefited.
He should go to every householder and take a bit of chapati from this house, a bit of chapati from that house, a bit of chapati from that house, so that the householders also may not be disturbed and they may be benefited.
When a real sannyasi or vairagi accepts something from a householder, it is a great benefit for him.
When a real sannyasi or vairagi accepts something from the householder, it is a great benefit for him.
Therefore, to accept little from this house, to accept little from that house, that is also another mercy of the renounced sannyasi or devotee of the Lord. Yes.
Therefore, to accept little from this house, to accept little from that house, that is also another mercy of the renounced sannyasi or devotee of the Lord. Yes.
So he did not accept that invitation, that I shall go somewhere and take sumptuously. No, I shall beg from door to door and collect my chapati and live on that way.
So he did not accept that invitation that I shall go somewhere and take sumptuously. No, I shall beg from door to door and collect my chapati and live on that way. Sanatana vairagye prabhu ananda apar bhot kammol pane prabhu chahe bare bha.
So this is verse 82, and the translation is, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt unlimited happiness to observe Sanatana Goswami's strict following of the principles of sannyas. However, he repeatedly glanced at the woolen blanket Sanatana Goswami was wearing. Then Prabhupada says, Sanatana, he was so strict in renounced order of life, so that gave Chaitanya Mahaprabhu too much pleasure. Oh, it is very nice.
Sanatana, he was so strict in the renounced order of life, so that gave Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, too much pleasure. Oh, it is very nice.
But while he was coming, his brother-in-law gave him a nice blanket that was on the body of Sanatana, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu several times overlooked about the blanket.
But while he was coming, his brother-in-law gave him a nice blanket that was on the body of Sanatana, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu several times overlooked about that blanket. Sanatana janilai prabhur na bhai bhot tag korivari chintile upai.
This is verse 83, and the translation is, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was repeatedly glancing at this valuable woolen blanket, Sanatana Goswami could understand that the Lord did not approve of it. He then began to consider a way to give it up. Then Prabhupada says, Sanatana Goswami, he was very intelligent. He was a minister. He could understand that Lord is observing my blanket. That means he does not like that I should have such a valuable blanket on my body.
Sanatana Goswami was very intelligent. He was minister. He could understand that Lord is observing my blanket. That means he doesn't like that I should have such valuable blanket on my body.
So he thought, I should give up this blanket.
So he thought that I should give up this blanket. এত চিন্তু গেলা গঙ্গার মধ্যাহ্ন করিতে এক গৌরিয়া দিয়াছে কান্থা ধুইয়া শুকাইতে.
So this is verse 84, and the translation is, thinking in this way, Sanatan went to the bank of the Ganges to bathe. While there, he saw a mendicant from Bengal had washed his quilt and spread it out to dry. Prabhupada says, thinking this, he went to the bank of the Ganges, and he saw another Vairagi. He had a torn clothing, and he, after washing it, he gave it for drying.
Thinking this, he went to the bank of the Ganges, and he saw another Vairagi. He had a torn clothing, and he, after washing it, he gave it for drying.
So Sanatan went there and asked him, please take this blanket and kindly give me that torn clothing.
Sanatana Goswami went there and asked him, please take this blanket and kindly give me that torn clothing.
So that man thought that he was cutting jokes with him, that he wants to exchange such a nice blanket. So he said, sir, you appear to be a very good gentleman. You should not cut joke with me like this.
So that man thought that he is cutting jokes with him, that he wants to exchange with such a nice blanket. So he said, sir, you appear to be a very good gentleman. You should not cut joke with me in this.
Then Sanatana Goswami, no, I'm not cutting joke with you. I am really serious. Please exchange this. You take this valuable blanket and give me that torn clothing.
So I said, no, I'm not cutting joke with you. I'm really serious. Please exchange this. You take this valuable blanket and give me that torn clothing.
And after taking that torn clothing, when he appeared before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very much pleased, yes.
And after taking that torn clothing, when he appeared before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very much pleased. Yes. প্রভু কয় তোমার ভোট কম্বল কোথা গেল প্রভু পদে সব কথা গোসাই কহিল.
So this is verse 89, and the translation is, when Sanatana Goswami returned, the Lord asked, where's your woolen blanket? Sanatana Goswami then narrated the whole story to the Lord. Then Prabhupada said, he inquired again, oh, where is your blanket, that valuable blanket I saw, where you left it?
He inquired again, oh, where is that your blanket, that valuable blanket I saw? Where you left it?
Then he described that I could understand your opinion, so I have exchanged that valuable blanket with this torn clothing. Yes.
Then he described that I could understand your opinion. So I have exchanged that valuable blanket with this torn clothing. Yes. Prabhu kahai ami koriyachi vichar vishayara khandaila Krishna jetama.
So this is verse 90, and the translation is, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, I have already deliberately considered this matter. Since Lord Krishna is very merciful, he has nullified your attachment for material things. Why should Krishna allow you to maintain a last bit of material attachment? After vanquishing a disease, a good physician does not allow any of the disease to remain. Then Prabhupada says, yes, I was just thinking of you. Now you are complete in renounced order. Now you are completely independent. You do not depend on anything. So it has given me much pleasure. Yes?
Yes. I was just thinking of you. Now you are complete in renounced order. Now you are completely independent. You don't depend on anything. So it is giving me much pleasure. Yes. সেখানে রাখিবে তোমার শেষ বিষয় ভোগ রোগ খণ্ডী সদ্বৈদন নাহিরা. So,
and the translation to this is verse 91 is, by grace of Krishna, your last attachment also now taken up. It is a great mercy of Krishna upon you.
By grace of Krishna, your last attachment also now taken up. It is a great mercy of Krishna upon you. तीन मुद्रार भोट गाय मधुकुरी ग्रास धर्महानि होय लोके करे उपहास.
This is verse 92, and the translation is, it is contradictory to practice madhukari and at the same time wear a valuable blanket. One loses his spiritual strength by doing this, and one will also become an object of jokes. Then Prabhupada says, then this is a hint by Lord Chaitanya that a sannyasi who has renounced everything, if he lives very gorgeously, with good dress and good household and apartment, no, this is not approved by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Then this is a hint by Lord Chaitanya that a sannyasi who has renounced everything, if he lives very gorgeously, with good dress and good house and apartment, no, this is not approved by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Then, what is that? What does it mean? A sannyasi living like a first-class gentleman, smoking and very nice apartment, and some, I mean to say, lady assistant, secretary. What is this? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not approve.
Then what is that? What does it mean? A sannyasi living like a first-class gentleman, smoking, and very nice apartment, and some, I mean to say, lady assistant, secretary, and what is this? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not approve this.
He must be, as far as possible, whatever is absolutely necessity, he should accept, not more. Yes?
He must be, as far as possible, whatever is absolutely necessity he should accept, not more. Yes.
That is renounced order. Not that in the name of renounced order of life he should live at the expense of the householders very gorgeously. No.
That is renounced order. Not that in the name of renounced order of life he should live at the expense of the householders very gorgeously. No, this is not.
This is not sannyasa. It is not accepted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sampradaya.
Sannyasa. It is not accepted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sampradaya.
So he said that you live by begging from door to door, and you have a valuable blanket on your body. This is contradictory. Now I am very glad that you have done this.
So he said that you live by begging from door to door, and you have a valuable blanket on your body. This is contradictory. Now, I am very glad that you have done this. गोसाई कहे जे खंडिला कुविषय भोग तार इच्छा गलम और शेष विषय रोग.
So this is verse 93, chapter 20, verse 93. And the translation from the Caitanya Caritamrita is, Sanatana Goswami replied, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has saved me from the sinful life of material existence. By his desire, my last piece of material attraction is now gone. Prabhupada says, now you wanted me to be in a renounced order of life. I first met you when I was in Bengal, in the capital of Gaudadesh.
Now you wanted me to be in renounced order of life. I first met you when I was in Bengal, the capital of Gaudadesh.
And you desired me that you should be in renounced order of life. So I came, and my last attachment to that Kambala is also now finished by you.
And you desired me that I should be in renounced order of life. So I came, and my last attachment to that Kambal is also now finished by you. Prasanna haiya Prabhu tare kripa koila, tar kripa prashna karite tar shakti kaila.
This is verse 94, and the translation from the Caitanya Caritamrita is, being pleased with Sanatana Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his causeless mercy upon him. By the Lord's mercy, Sanatana Goswami received the spiritual strength to inquire from him. Prabhupada says, now Sanatana Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is sitting together for discussion.
Now Sanatana Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is sitting together for discussion.
This is called instruction to Sanatana Goswami. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had discussion with some of his principal disciples.
This is called instruction to Sanatana Goswami. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had discussion with some of his principal disciples.
One was Ramananda Roy Ramananda. He was governor of Madras, and later on he retired from that governorship and became a constant companion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
One was Ramananda Rai Ramananda. He was governor of Madras, and later on he retired from the governorship and became a constant companion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Although he was a householder, he never accepted renouncement. But still, he was He was the most confidential devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he was a householder.
Although he was a householder, he never accepted renouncement. But still, he was the most confidential devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he was a householder.
Because he was highly advanced in the science of Krishna.
Because he was highly advanced in the science of Krishna.
So there was some discussion with this Ramananda Roy, and there was some discussion with this Sanatana Goswami, and some discussion with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and some discussion with Rupa Goswami.
So there was some discussion with this Ramananda Roy, and there was some discussion with this Sanatana Goswami, and some discussion with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and some discussion with Rupa Goswami.
So he had no other discussion with anyone, and the rest of his life was spent by simply chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
So he had no other discussion with anyone, and the rest of his life was spent by simply chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
And these disciples, under the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they have made volumes of books on the basis of the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
And these disciples, under the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they have made volumes of books on the basis of the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not write any book in his own hand. He wrote only 8 verses, which is called Shikshastaka.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not write any book in his own hand. He wrote only 8 verses, which is called Shikshastaka.
That was his only writing. Otherwise, all the books, valuable books, that you have got in his sampradaya, they are written by his disciples, especially by Rupa Goswami.
That was his only writing. Otherwise, all the books, valuable books that you have got in his sampradaya, they are written by his disciples, especially by Rupa Goswami.
He's famous. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and that boy, the nephew of Rupa Goswami, who left home at 10 years old and later on, after becoming a very great Sanskrit scholar, he approached their uncles, that Jiva Goswami. Oh, he has written many valuable volumes of books.
He is famous. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and that boy, the nephew of Rupa Goswami, who left home at 10 years old, and later on, after becoming a very great Sanskrit scholar, he approached their uncles, that Jiva Goswami. Oh, he has written many valuable volumes of books.
So the asset of this Chaitanya Sampradaya about this devotional service is very great, very great. This Caitanya Caritamrita is also one of them, yes.
So, the asset of this Chaitanya Sampradaya about this devotional service is very great, very great. This Caitanya Caritamrita is also one of them. Yes. So, पूर्वे जैसे राय पासे प्रभु प्रश्न कइला तार शक्ति रामानंद तार उत्तर दिला यहाँ प्रभु शक्ति प्रश्न करे सनातन अपने महाप्रभु करे तत्व निरूपण.
So this is chapter 20, verse 95 and 96. And the translation is, formerly Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had asked Ramananda Roy spiritual questions, and by the Lord's causeless mercy, Ramananda Roy could properly reply. Now, by the Lord's mercy, Sanatana Goswami questioned the Lord, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally supplied the truth. Prabhupada says, now after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's approval of renouncement of Sanatana Goswami, he instructed him for 2 months at Benares.
Now, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's approval of renouncement of Sanatana Goswami, he instructed him for 2 months at Benares.
In the formally, here it is referred, in the formally, as he instructed Ramananda Roy in Kovor. Kovor is a place in the Madras, South India. Similarly, in that occasion, the Lord was questioning Ramananda Roy, and Ramananda Roy was replying.
And formally, here it is referred, and formally as he instructed Ramananda Roy in Kabul. Kabul is a place in the Madras, South India. Similarly, in that occasion, the Lord was questioning Ramananda Roy, and Ramananda Roy was replying.
And here, in a similar way, the Sanatana Goswami will question, and Lord Chaitanya will reply.
And here, in the similar way, the Sanatana Goswami will question, and Lord Chaitanya will reply.
So sometimes the disciple and the spiritual master, the relationship is like that. Sometimes the teacher questions the student, and the student replies, and sometimes the student questions the teacher, and the teacher replies.
So sometimes the disciple and the spiritual master, the relationship is like that. Sometimes the teacher questions to the student, and student replies, and sometimes the student questions to the teacher, and teacher replies.
This is called istagosti, to develop knowledge. These questions and answers are required. According to the system of accepting a spiritual master, it is said that just after acceptance,
this is called Ishtagost. To develop knowledge, these questions and answers are required. According to the system of accepting a spiritual master, it is said that just after acceptance, Adu Gurvasram.
This is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:174, and I'll read the translation. Srila Prabhupada doesn't finish the verse, but the translation is, in the beginning, one should accept the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and inquire submissively about religious principles. He should then desire to follow in the footsteps of the great devotees of the Lord. And Prabhupada says, one must have to accept a spiritual master. Then the next position is Saddharma Prachat.
One must have to accept a spiritual master. Then the next position is Saddharma Picha.
Then he should be very much inquisitive, a student, not finishing that, now I am initiated, everything is finished. No, he should be very inquisitive.
Then he should be very much inquisitive. A student not finishing that, now I'm initiated, everything finished. No, he should be very inquisitive.
Unless one is very inquisitive, there is no necessity of accepting a spiritual master. That is the instruction in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tasmat gurum prapadyeta gigasho shreya uttamam. Unless
one is very inquisitive, there is no necessity of accepting a spiritual master. That is the instruction in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tasmad gurum prapadyeta jigyasu shreya uttamam. So this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 3, Text 21, and the translation of this verse is, therefore any person who seriously desires real happiness must seek a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of the bona fide guru is that he has realized the conclusions of the scriptures by deliberation and is able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, should be understood to be a bona fide spiritual master. Prabhupada says, one has the necessity of accepting a spiritual master who is very much inquisitive about the transcendental matter. One has the necessity of accepting a spiritual master who is very much inquisitive about transcendental matter. Otherwise, there is no necessity. Simply, because so many people accept a spiritual master, so I'll have to accept somebody as spiritual master. My business finished. Otherwise, there is no necessity. Simply, because so many people accept a spiritual master, so I will have to accept somebody as spiritual master. My business finished. No. One should be very much inquisitive. Yes, he must be very much eager to understand what is transcendental subject. Then this business of accepting a spiritual master will be fulfilled. One should be very much inquisitive. Yes. He must be very much eager to understand what is transcendental subject. Then this business of accepting a spiritual master will be fulfilled. So here also, and when the questions and answers were going on between Ramananda Roy and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramananda Roy was not even a Brahmana. So here also, and when the questions and answers were going on between Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramananda Rai was not even a Brahmin. Because in those days, the Brahmanas were a very respectable community, and they were learned scholars. Because in those days, the Brahmins were a very respectable community, and they are learned scholars.
So, and he was a kayasta. Kayasta. Kayasta in, of course now, not now, in some hundreds or 200 years before, these kayasta were considered very lower caste.
And he was a kayasta. Kayasta, and of course now, not now, and some 100 or 200 years before, these castes were considered very lower caste.
So Ramananda Roy belonged to that kayasta community, but he was very much learned. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he belonged to the Brahmana community, and he was vastly learned. At the same time, he was in the renounced order of life.
So Ramananda Rai belonged to that caste community, but he was very much learned. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he belonged to the Brahmin community, and he was vastly learned. At the same time, he was in renounced order of life.
So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking question from Ramananda Roy, he felt himself shy that I am a householder and I belong to the Kayasta community, and Lord, you come from the Brahmana community, and you are so vastly learned.
So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking question from Ramananda Rai, he felt himself shy that I am a householder and I belong to the caste community, and Lord, you belong to you come from the Brahmin community, and you are so fast learned at the
same time. You have accepted renounced order, so you are in all respects my master. How is that you are trying to understand from me?
Same time you have accepted renounced order. See, you are in all respect my master. How is that? You are trying to understand from me.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed this example by his life's activity. So he was hesitating that I should rather put question to you as teacher, and you should answer me.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed this example by his life's activity. So he was hesitating that I should rather put question to you as teacher and you should answer me.
But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no. There is no such difference between master.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no. There is no such differentiation between masters. Kiva Shudra Kiva Vipranashikana Jai Krishna Tattva Shai Guru Ha.
So this is a very famous verse. This is from chapter 8, text 128. And the verse translation is, whether one is a Brahmana, a sannyasi, or a Sudra, regardless of what he is, he can become a spiritual master if he knows the science of Krishna. And Prabhupada says, it doesn't matter whether you are a householder, or you are a Brahmana, or you are a renounced order of. If you know the science of Krishna, you are fully in Krishna consciousness. You are my guru. You are my spiritual master.
It doesn't matter whether you are a householder, or you are a Brahmin, or you are a renounced order. If you know the science of Krishna, you are fully in Krishna consciousness, you are my guru. You are my spiritual master.
So that is the relation between spiritual master and the student. Not that the spiritual master, because he has officially accepted the post as spiritual master, he should remain as. He should accept the student also as his spiritual master.
So that is the relation between the spiritual master and the student. Not that the spiritual master, because he has officially accepted the post of spiritual master, he should remain. He should accept the students also as his spiritual master.
This is the reciprocation. Prabhu. Everyone would address one another as Prabhu. But officially, one may be a spiritual master.
This is the reciprocation. Prabhu. Everyone would address the other as Prabhu. But officially one may be a spiritual master.
But in the spiritual platform, there is no such difference. But officially, custom is that spiritual master is considered in the place of Supreme Lord, and therefore he is given the such respect.
And in spiritual platform, there is no such difference. But officially, custom is that spiritual master is considered in the place of Supreme Lord, and therefore he is given this as respect.
But the spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, he thinks that I am your disciple, and practical example I have seen our Guru Maharaj. When we offered obeisances, he used to return Dasosmi, I am your servant.
And the spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, he thinks that I am your disciple. I am your disciple. And practical example I have seen, our Guru Maharaj, when he offered obeisance, he used to return, Dasosmi, I am your servant.
He used to return me this way, I am your servant.
He used to return the obeisance, I am your servant.
I'm going to play this little section again. You can hear in Prabhupada's voice that he becomes emotional.
The spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, he thinks that I am your disciple. I am your disciple. And practical example I have seen, our Guru Maharaj, when he offered obeisance, he used to return, Dasosmi, I am your servant. He used to return the obeisance, I am your servant.
So these are the things we have to learn from the behavior, practical demonstration of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life. So tomorrow we shall discuss the questions and answers of Sanatana Goswami.
These are the things we have to learn from the behavior, practical demonstration of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life. So tomorrow we shall discuss the questions and answers of Sanatana Goswami.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So now we have a break and there are some questions. Prabhupada says, you see, so similarly, a material qualification, that is not bad, provided they are engaged in Krishna consciousness.
So similarly, a material qualification, that is not bad, provided they are engaged in Krishna consciousness.
Otherwise, it has no value. Material qualification, if they are engaged.
Otherwise, it has no value. Material qualification, if they are engaged. Nirbandhe Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagam.
So this verse is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-255, and the translation is, when one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. And Prabhupada says, if one is able to dovetail his material qualities in the service of the Lord, then that becomes a great qualification.
If one is able to dovetail his material qualities in the service of the Lord, that becomes a great qualification. Viprad disaragunujutat aravindanabha.
So this verse is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, Text 10. And the translation is, if a Brahmana has all 12 of the Brahminical qualifications, as they are stated in the book called Santan Sajataha, but is not a devotee and is adverse to the lotus feet of the Lord, he is certainly lower than a devotee who is a dog-eater, but who has dedicated everything, mind, words, activities, wealth, and life to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee is better than such a Brahmana because the devotee can purify his whole family, whereas the so-called Brahmana in a position of false prestige cannot purify even himself. So Prabhupada says, Aravinda Nabha. Aravinda means lotus flower. And Nabha means this navel.
Aravinda means lotus flower. And Nabha means this navel.
So Vishnu, Krishna, is Vishnu. Therefore, his other name is Aravinda Nabha. He has got a lotus flower. On that lotus flower, Brahma is born.
So, Vishnu, Krishna is Vishnu, therefore his another name is Aravinda Nabha. He has got a lotus flower. On that lotus flower, Brahma is born.
This is omnipotency. Omnipotency of God. You have seen that picture in the cover of Srimad Bhagavatam, that Garbhodakshai Vishnu is lying, and there is a lotus flower from his navel. And upon the lotus flower, Brahma is born, and Lakshmi ji is engaged in serving his lotus feet.
This is omnipotency. Omnipotency of God. You have seen that picture in the cover of Srimad Bhagavatam, that Garbhodakshai Vishnu is lying, and there is a lotus flower from his navel, and upon the lotus flower Brahma is born. And Lakshmi ji is engaged in serving his lotus feet.
But you see, Krishna was to beget a son. His wife, Lakshmi, or Vishnu's wife, was sitting, but he did not take.
But just see, Krishna was to beget a son. His wife, Lakshmi, or Vishnu's wife, was sitting, but he did not take.
He begot a child, Brahma, from his own navel. This is called omnipotency. He can do anything and everything. Now, when we conceive of begetting a child, we must have to secure a wife first of all.
He begot a child, Brahma, from his own navel. This is called omnipotence. He can do anything. Now, when we conceive of begetting a child, we must have to secure a wife first of all.
Then I have must sex intercourse with her. Then she should be pregnant. Then there will be a child.
Then I have must sex intercourse with her. Then she should be pregnant. Then there will be a child.
Otherwise, there is no child. Because we are not omnipotent. We cannot produce child in that way. This is called omnipotency.
Otherwise, there is no child. Because we are not omnipotent. We cannot produce child in that way. This is called omnipotence.
And he did not require the help of the wife. Neither there was necessity.
And he did not require the help of the wife. Neither there was necessity.
So, Krishna's wife or Krishna's girlfriends, they are not Krishna's necessities. Krishna is without any necessities, without any want.
The Krishna's wife or Krishna's girlfriend, they are not Krishna's necessities. Krishna is without any necessity, without any want.
But if somebody wants, Krishna should be my friend, Krishna should be my husband, he accepts. That's it. He is not in want. He is full in himself. One who knows this fact, he is pure devotee.
But if somebody wants, Krishna should be my friend, Krishna should be my husband, he accepts. That's it. He is not in want. He is full in himself. One who knows this fact, he is pure devotee.
You are offering chapati. Don't think that Krishna is in want of your chapati. But if you offer Krishna and take the chapati, you are benefited.
You are offering chapati, and don't think that Krishna is in want of your chapati. But if you offer Krishna and take the chapati, you are benefited. Krishna Varadamaya Parivari Jivbhajaya. I sing.
This is from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. O Lord, this material body is a place of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths to death. Somehow, we have fallen into this ocean of material sense enjoyment, and of all the senses, the tongue is most voracious and uncontrollable. It is very difficult to conquer the tongue in this world, but you, dear Krishna, are very kind to us and have given us such nice prasada, just to control the tongue. Now, we have taken this prasad to our full satisfaction and glorify you, Lord Radha and Krishna, and in love, call for the help of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. The devotees sing this song before they take prasadam. Then Prabhupada says, I sing this. Perhaps you do not know the meaning, that Krishna is very merciful, because my tongue is always hankering after some good tasty food, this or that. But if I eat Krishna prasad, then my tongue will be controlled.
Sing this, perhaps you do not know the meaning. The Krishna is very merciful. Because my tongue is always hankering after some good tasty food, this or that. But if I eat Krishna's prasad, then my tongue will be controlled.
And as soon as your tongue is controlled, your all other senses will be controlled. These are the philosophy.
And as soon as your tongue is controlled, your all other senses will be controlled. These are the philosophy.
So don't think that Krishna is in want or Krishna is in need. He needs your third-class service. No, he's full in himself.
So don't think that Krishna is in want or Krishna is in need. He needs your third-class service. No, he's full in himself.
But if you can offer your service some way or other, then you are benefited. You are elevated to the transcendental position. That is Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much.
But if you can offer your service somewhere or other, then you are benefited. You are elevated to the transcendental position. That is Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much.
Dear listeners, if you made it to the very end of this podcast, you are my hero. This podcast is a monthly series, so please subscribe to be alerted when the next one is available. All materials in this podcast were downloaded from Prabhupadavani.com, the best website on the internet. Thank you again for your time and attention. I always beg to remain your humble servant, Jagai Nitai Das.